Hi and welcome back to the channel. If you haven't been here before, my name's Lee. On this channel I cover geopolitics, world affairs and things like that, where I give you my thoughts and opinions. Okay, so today I want to talk about US inflation. Now, US inflation came in at 8.3% in April, slightly lower than in March, but still higher than market expectations, which are 8.1%. Now, Biden and the White House PR team have got a new phrase, and that's the Putin price hike. So basically he's trying to blame all these rising prices in the USA on Putin for invading Ukraine. Well, that's one thing, but in my mind, actually the war against Russia and Ukraine is actually a proxy war, the USA against Russia using Ukraine, but that's another story. So let's get back to this inflation. Now, I don't believe, and I don't think for 1 minute, that this inflation is caused by Russia invading Ukraine. It is all down to the policies that the USA have themselves followed. So currently, the biggest driver of the current high inflation, I believe, is the tariffs that were implemented on Chinese companies by Donald Trump. For some reason, Donald Trump administration did a great job of convincing the general public in the USA that the tariffs were going to be paid for by China. But the reality of it is, many of those companies in the USA that were importing finished goods or components to manufacture goods in the US just simply saw a rise in their costs and passed that rise on to the consumers, which stokes inflation. The second thing was sanctions on a number of Chinese companies. This created a chip shortage. And well, it wasn't all to do with the sanctions on Chinese companies, but it had partly to do with the sanctions on Chinese companies. Created a chip shortage, and that in turn led to industries like the car industry struggling to get chips, so the prices of new and especially second-hand vehicles increased, again adding to inflation. And the next thing that has added to inflation, and I think there's a lot more of this down the pipeline to come, is sanctions on Russia, especially energy sanctions. This has pushed up oil and gas prices worldwide, and the US is not shielded from that. And due to another US policy of Biden is that to move to green, which you can argue is a good thing or not. I'm not here to discuss that, but so the US is not producing enough oil for itself, so it has to import oil, although it could be self-sufficient. Again, this has led to rising energy prices and again stokes inflation, because fuel is used to move goods around, it's used to produce goods in factories. Everything uses energy, and if energy goes up, then the cost of goods goes up, which is then passed on to consumers, and that stokes inflation again. And I think you're going to see more of this coming down the pipeline. I mean, many Americans will argue that their rate of inflation is actually higher than 8.3%, and for many families on low incomes that is actually true, because they spend more of their income on necessities and energy and food. So, you know, some of those might be feeling inflation above 10%. From what I'm aware, prices are rising quite significantly in the UK, in the US, across a number of food items. Now, the third thing which I think is also contributing to inflation is, since the start of the pandemic and up to now, the Federal Reserve have printed humongous amounts of extra money. Trillions and trillions of dollars have gone into the economy, and again, that will also add to inflation. So, you know, I find it unbelievable how Biden is blaming it on Putin when it's plain to see that the policies that the US administration, both the previous administration and the current administration, have implemented are actually what has caused this inflation. Now, it seems the Fed are going to jack up interest rates over the next few months, and I think they've said they will continue to jack up interest rates until they bring the inflation under control. And that in itself is going to hurt a lot of people, especially if they're on variable rate mortgages or they've got loans to repay. It's obviously going to affect all those people. Anyway, that is my take on it. I'd love to know what you think down in the comments, so tell me what you think. But as always, for now, take care.